Okay, we're pleased to give you the list of some roster additions. You guys can read through. There's 23 guys, 5 enrolled early, and a really good group of players. And I also want to announce that and confirm the recruitment, because we're not done. This is just the start of it. Confirm the recruitment of the following guys, and you'll probably hear more within the next week or 2 weeks with these guys' roster status in the next, I said next week or two. There's quite a bit here. I'm gonna read their names out because I don't want you to be surprised if they get added to the roster here soon. Wide receiver Isaiah Adams from Cathedral High in L.A. O-lineman Tyrell Aponte from Peoria, Arizona. Defensive tackle Paige Burdine from Cathedral in L.A. DN Dante Blissett from Desert Edge High School here in Arizona. O-lineman Edgar Barola from Desert Pines in Vegas. Linebacker Rourke Freeberg from Desert Mountain High in Scottsdale. O-lineman Tyson Gardner from Queen Creek, Arizona. Cornerback Malik Hausman from Bishop Gorman in Vegas. Cornerback Azizi Hearn from Oceanside High, California. Running back slot DJ Hinton from right here in Tucson, Arizona. Wide receiver Isaiah Lovett from right here in Marana, Arizona. Running back Noah Pettinger from Brophy Prep up in Phoenix. Linebacker Elijah Ruiz from Franklin High in El Paso, Texas. Wide receiver Trevor Russell from Casa Grande up the road. Linebacker Ken Sampson from Ironwood Ridge in Oro Valley here in Arizona. And linebacker Rex Tesler, Brophy Prep, Phoenix, Arizona. And there'll be more names added to the roster in the next few weeks. So we're all told there are probably anywhere between 40 to 42 new players joining us this fall. You add 34, 35 from last year, and almost two-thirds of the roster is flipped. And it's really, I think the coaches, staff, and the support staff have done a great job of bringing in some fine quality student athletes for our football program. Questions?
Coach? The players that you just mentioned, are those guys walk-ons, scholarship players, or DVD,
Both.
or mix of both?
Can you tell us which ones are which?
No, I might be against the rules. Sometimes the NCAA rules can be a benefit in your communication with the media. Correct, Matt? Matt is in here because Matt is going to make sure I don't do anything against the NCAA. He is our NCAA police right now in here. But the answer is both.
Between the list of guys on the paper here and the list that you just reeled off, do you feel like you addressed all of the team needs that you wanted to address, or are there still some areas where you feel like we're still kind of short?
Yes and yes. I think that we've addressed them, but we like to get a little bit deeper, a little more competition at several positions. And so the pursuit of good football players is a daily endeavor here at Arizona. So whereas I understand there's a lot of, our coaches obviously love to recruit. I love to recruit. But for some people, they see this as the end of it. This is just the first day of signing period, and we're going to work the next few days and keep finding them in the next few months. And we're not going to take a guy just to take a guy. We want to take guys that can compete and come in and graduate and get a great education and be good members of our program. I feel really good with where we're at, with the names that you got today, but also with some that we're going to be adding soon.
With the names you just added, just how do you think you did in the state?
Really good. And we've always said, you guys know have been here, that our first priority is going to be the state of Arizona, and then it's going to be our kind of second base home in Southern California. And it's been frustrating in a couple years here that some of the best players or players that we had offered in state wouldn't even visit. And it was really frustrating. We had a new facility, we were doing well, a great campus, all the positive things we have, and we couldn't even convince them to come down and take a look around. And this year, with just maybe one or two exceptions, all the players that we wanted in state or offered came to campus at some point, and a lot of them multiple times. And our success rate of getting guys once they get on campus is really high because we got a beautiful campus, got a great atmosphere, a nice city. You know, it's just, there's all positive. And that's why I think we got a lot of in-state guys coming in, is because our guys did a good job of getting them here, but they obviously enjoyed the visits, in particular the unofficial visits. Official visits are way overrated. It's all unofficial visits. You get guys on campus, you get a chance to get them. And that's been our goal, to get guys on campus. And so we're continuing to pursue any way we can to do that within the NCAA rules, continuing to pursue how we can make our program and our facilities even more attractive. There are things we need to do to help with that. And we'll keep working on it. But the staff's worked hard, and we're going to keep working hard on it.
What are your thoughts on Tilford, just as you see him working around?
Yeah, he's a
here?
big back. I think he's been highly recruited since he's a freshman probably, but we weren't sure when we recruited him that he could even enroll early. Enrolling early was just a bonus, because now he's working out with the guys, and he's got a chance to learn under Coach McGee. And the luxury, we got to get deeper into all positions, but especially tailback. We know what happened last year. The nice part is that we're going to have a good variety of different type of tailbacks, you know, the bigger guys like Tilford, and then some smaller, shiftier guys, and everywhere in between.
You mentioned the daily endeavor of acquiring talent. Are you in the transfer or graduate transfer market? Should any of those types of guys be available?
Yes, if I don't know what I'm allowed to. If there's a graduate transfer that can play at a high level, and he wants to work on a quality second degree or a master's degree, and he's a big-time player, and he can run, he's smart, he's tough, you need to give us a call. We might have a room. We may have a spot for you.
How much closer are we to an early signing period than we were a year ago?
Well, now that you brought up an early signing period, I'm not going to get on my soapbox. I think we will have, I'm just giving a projection, because I'm on some of the Coaches Association committees. I think we'll probably have a December 1 passed. It'll probably be around the third week in December. And that's better than what we got, but I still think we should have no signing day. You know, the reasons are long, and I don't want to go through all of it now, but it's ridiculous that two sides don't come to agreement like everything else in life. You make a contract, and the school offers, the young man agrees, his family agrees, and then you sign, and you're good to go. Now, I think there got to be some stipulations in there that if a young man signs after his junior year and the head coach that signed the letter of intent is not the head coach in February of the guy's senior year, he can get out and go somewhere else. That protects the student athlete. I think you also could put a clause in there that, you know, once if he's made a visit to a campus, whether it's unofficial, official, he can't sign a binding letter of intent for 7 days. That way the honeymoon period or phase wears out, and a school's not pressuring somebody to sign right in front of him. So I think there's some clauses in there, but it just, you know, we're talking about a lot of different, changing the official contact period, or changing when you can official visit, and changing the whole recruiting calendar, and, you know, there's always going to be issues. You know, if you move the signing date to December, which I think probably will happen, the first signing date, that will become the de facto signing date. It'll just move everything up and all that, but I think just having none clears it up. But and I had Matt figure this out, and it seems like it's more, not just us, but there's been more decommitments this year than any probably time I can remember. In fact, Matt researched this, and as of 12:30 today, just in Division I, not counting one I still call 1AA, 757 decommitments. 757. That's 23% of the class. 1 out of every 4 have decommitted. And that happens, we understand that, but when a young man decommits a week or a day or a couple of days before signing period, it kind of puts everybody in a bind. And there are schools that are I don't think a lot, but there are some schools that are pulling it or moving on from guys a week before. And then, that process is, you spend about $27,000 per kid once they commit. I mean, going visits and official visits and the air travel and all the things that go into it. And so if all the ADs out there listening, or presidents of the university are listening, if you want to save your program money, get out of this ridiculous, circus that is National Signing Day, when kids are pulling out hats out of boxes and, jumping out of helicopter planes or helicopters, announcing where they're going, and you're glorifying these kids to where they can never meet the expectation. And I don't blame it on the kids, and I don't blame it on the sites that try to get rankings, but some of these young men will never live up to the hype post today. And that's a shame, because they're still, they're still young, they're still developing, particularly in our sport. So I think the glorification, I mean, I love recruiting and everything about it. Don't particularly like the theatrics of what signing day has become, and kids, the way they think it's just, I got a different offer and let me just decommit, and all the time and stuff that you spent with the other coaches. So anyway, there should be no sign day, but I'm going to try to at least get that proposal up there. And knowing how legislation takes decades, if they do pass it, who knows when that'll be.
December then, would that be, when would that technically be?
What's that?
The early December?
Heck, it's taken years just to get something proposed for December, let alone a no signing date. But the more I think about it, and there's pros and cons to everything, that it makes more sense. But I'm willing to listen, and I hope all the coaches will listen to it, because it's gotten worse. I'm from what signing days become, what the commitments and decommitments, and from both ends. So hopefully we can clean that up.
The role social media has played in all of that. It's obviously a very different process with all of that now.
Yeah, social media is an important part of everything in recruiting, because and it's not going to go backwards. I mean, kids are on Twitter now that you can message and not don't have to tweet. It's that not as big, but kids look at phones and they check their Snapchats and Instagrams and stuff, and that's all part of it. I think it's just made it more public. And recruiting is always going to be public, certainly, but I think we can get a little bit of control over it by not glorifying them to a point where it's almost like, I read a story, and I'm not going to tell you what site it was, that these are the 6 to 8 likely to flip their commitments on signing day guys. And it was a big story, and just making a big deal out of them, and like I said, glorifying their fact that they would, long-time commitment, they could flip on signing days. I'm like, what are we doing? What's the message that we're telling them? That the school that you've been with and the coaches you've been with and all the money they spent with you, it doesn't matter on signing day. You're going to make yourself a bigger, more popular guy by saying screw you and going somewhere else. It's just, I don't think it's fair to either side.
Similar vein, there are some schools that when they have a kid verbally commit, don't let him take another visit, or they'll pull his scholarship. What do you think about that?
Well, I understand it. We've told kids that. If you're committed somewhere and you're visiting somewhere else, you're not really committed, you're just interested. Some kids will say, I just want to make a trip. And I understand. Isn't that part of the problem? You're just going to use the other school's money and make them spend all this money and just tell them you're interested when you're really not? I mean, is that really fair to either side? So, like I said, you'll be a lot more meat to it. And I don't think it's that complicated. Everybody says about the rules. You got 85 scholarships. You got 85 guys that can be signed to letter of intent. That's it. Once you sign that 85, then that's all you have. And so what's going to arguments, and trust me, there are other arguments, but there'll be some schools that say, how can you take a kid after his junior year where he only has 6 semesters of high school transcripts and you don't know if we have college successor and all that? That's on you. If you sign the wrong guy, and he's not eligible, well, then he'll make himself that letter of intent null and void. But if you counted him as one of your 85 and you dropped other people, well, you picked the wrong guy. Start, making a better decision. Don't tell me the schools, some of those academic schools that say, well, we have to, well, what they do sometimes is they'll drop a kid at the end and say, we can't get you in school. You mean NCAA standards, well, don't mean our standards. So it's all, trust me, it's not that, we make things more complicated. And if you have a gray area, and I've said this on the AFCA coaches meetings, if there's any gray area whatsoever within the rules, the coaches and the staffs will exploit it. They're going to do whatever they can to get an advantage. It's a competitive business. And so you can't have gray areas in the rules or schools will use it. That's like the camp things and everything like that. So anyway, whatever the rules are, that's what we're going to go by. We're going to do as good as we can. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I'm suggesting, because you brought the question up, that I think we can clean it a lot better. Clean it up a lot better, excuse me.
What was the moment like when Brett put pen to paper finally for you?
Yeah, he's been committed for 18 years. He's had thousands of official visits at home. He's, like I said, he's decommitted from 4 other schools, but he had no choice when he committed to those. So it wasn't like a drama decommit. But I'm really proud of him. I said this earlier when I watched Rhett when he was playing as a freshman and sophomore in the varsity. I was watching as a dad more than as a coach. Then as he got bigger and got better and all that, I started watching as a coach. I this guy's, I know he's smart. I know how important football is and how he works. Let me watch his talent level. Let me see if he's a Division I. And then the last 2 years, and in particular the last year, he's shown everything that you'd want and more. He's kind of, again, I'm a dad, so I think I know a lot about him, his work ethic. It's kind of a neat story too. And over the holidays, we were back in West Virginia because but I was going back to see my family with my dad's passing, and so we were at a house, and wife is eating some steak, and somehow something got stuck in her, a piece of steak got stuck in her throat, and I hear a kind of a loud gagging noise, and there's Rhett doing a quick Heimlich maneuver on Miss Rita and basically saved her life. And didn't even didn't yell, say, hey, or just kind of calmly, matter of fact, went over and did the deal. And I'm like, that's the same way he was when he played, whether it was in a playoff game or his one game it was 4th and 20, whatever it is, and he threw 50. His demeanor is, he's calm in the middle of a storm. So he's a pretty special young man with that deal there.
You mentioned the decommitments at length there, and obviously it goes both ways. I mean, sometimes you get some, sometimes you lose some. Has it been frustrating for you to lose some of the guys that you've lost over the last month or so?
Well, I'll say this, and that's a fair question. I never worry about the ones we don't get. You always worry about the ones you get, because that's who you play with. And I've always thought that. And the disappointment in some of the late decommitments is a lot due to the fact that at the time that, not necessarily me, but the staff and in particular the position coach or recruiting coaches put in. And sometimes decommitments do you a favor. You're like, all right, and sometimes it's mutual. You can't always read sometimes you read on the site, maybe a guy, the decommitment was mutual. Maybe a guy was offered, wasn't really offered. Maybe a guy was interested, wasn't really interested. So don't believe all the hype, but sometimes decommitments happen for the best. But I don't ever worry about it, but only it's frustrating with the time that you put into it, certainly. But I've learned a long time ago, you really worry about the ones you get, because those are the ones you're going to win with and have success with. And the ones we got and are getting, I think are really good.
The last recruiting cycle, you talked about getting the need to get longer, rangier on defense. How do you think you did with this group?
We had to get guys that can rush the passer. And, for us, the linebacker position, like we had a couple years ago with Scooby and Turi and all that, those are guys that could play linebacker on 1st and 2nd down and be pass rush guys on 3rd down. And, he kind of gave us 2 players for 1. We struggled with that and have struggled with that the last couple of years. In this class, we got linebackers that could play both, kind of a pass rush D and then linebacker. And then we got some guys that are long, athletic, pass rush kind of guys. So we got a lot more athletic. And I thought our defensive staff did a good job identifying some. And then, frankly, I'm not saying I've changed my view, but there's a lot of defensive guys, front guys in this class, and there's going to be more added. You know, with one thing I know, you got to have some dudes up front, and a lot of dudes up front, because how many plays they got to play and the style that we're playing against. And so the whole front seven of defenses, you know, we struggled, and some of it was injuries, and some of it was, you know, guys that, you know, maybe weren't quite ready to play yet on defense. But the whole athleticism of our defense, and particularly the front seven, is changing in the next year and a half.
Do Mike King and Jalen Harris project as rush ends? I know that they're listed as defensive ends, but they're 6'4", 210, 15 pounds. What do you see in those two kids?
Kind of a hybrid rush-in, drop-backer, and we have a position that's kind of tailor-made for that on normal downs. You know, sometimes they'll rush, sometimes they'll drop. And then, obviously, your third down pass rush guys, those guys will meet. And there were two that we identified really early, and they were in-state guys, and we had them at camp, and we got to build a relationship with them. And we had to keep recruiting them all the way through the end. But body type-wise, athleticism-wise, and all that, we don't have a lot of that on the roster currently. And if they'll do what we think they'll do in the weight room and work, they'll be special players here.
Have you accepted the fact that you're going to basically have to play a lot of young guys at linebacker this season?
In other positions as well. And I think that's a good thing from the standpoint, I've always said, you guys that have covered us, we got to play more people, especially defensively. You can't get by with playing 15, 16 people. So we got to have the ability to play 22 to 24 people. We got to have a system that allows them to play early. And then we got to recruit guys that are capable of doing it. And so then when you do get a few guys hurt, you'll still be okay. And I see that, again, this spring will help some of our young guys that they're working pretty hard now. We're going to have a workout here at 3:30. But there'll be a lot of guys that I mentioned today, and maybe a few more we add, that contribute early in their careers, and we'll get them ready.
Speaking of that defensive line, you got a 310-pounder in there and something that, you know, you guys haven't had as much size. How much does that help to add guys that are ready from a size standpoint?
Yeah, we got to get, you know, there's no question we got to get bigger. We're way too small last year, and we're bigger already this spring and going to be a lot bigger this fall. And as I said, you know, part of it was bad luck, and some of the guys got hurt, whatever, but you got to have some big dudes, and our size is changing significantly. I said there's some in this class, as you can see. There'll be a few more added here that you'll see we've gotten a lot bigger.
Specifically with Sione, what do you like about him?
He's a big, active guy. Again, we need some 300-pounders. Not that it's just weight, but guys that are active, can get off blocks and make plays. And him being an early enrollee, which is what it's going to benefit him, because he's got a chance to not just learn what we're doing on defense, but get in our weight program.
Nick Wilson and JJ do when you start spring ball here in a couple?
Everything. Yep. The February 18th, we start. I think our spring showcase is March 2nd. That was going to be our de facto spring game, but I was going to start spring practice Saturday, but because we have some new staff members and some new players, and wanted to get in the weight room more, we're going to move that back up to February 18th. Spread it out a little bit and have, it's not a spring game, but a spring showcase, I guess, in the middle of spring, which is okay. We'll get good work in.
Do you have enough quarterbacks for your liking?
Yeah, I think so. As long as they stay healthy, we have enough quarterbacks. If we add a walk-on or two or somebody down the line here, that'll be good. But I think we got plenty of talent there. Just got to keep them healthy.
What do you think about your other Tucson signee, Drew Dixon?
Really excited about Drew. Drew's going to probably play both. He's one that I don't know what he's listed as, but he'll play quarterback too. If you know quarterback, you can play all the positions offensively. So he'll probably play some quarterback, and then he'll play wide receiver as well. Very athletic, and he did that. I mean, he did both in high school, and great young man. And it's good to have him. He'll do a lot of different things for us, I think.
You mentioned additions to the coaching staff. What went into the hiring of Scott Boone?
couple of things. I've known Coach Boone for over 20 years, known him for a long time, and competed against him when he was coaching in college, and knew him back when he coached at a small college. We were both coaching at a small college, and always had great respect for him. And even though he's from the East Coast, he's recruited out here in the West Coast quite a bit. And frankly, we needed to gave us an opportunity to position-wise to move Coach Yates to the secondary with Coach Adai, which is where he's been most of his career, so we're more comfortable there. And then get a true linebacker coach that's been coaching college linebackers for a long time, and Coach Boone. So position-wise, it's worked out great, and I like the chemistry so far on the staff. And he's got coordinator experience too, which is going to help Marcel and those guys in that room as we develop or expand, I don't want to say expand, but develop our defensive package.
Couple more questions for Coach?
We haven't talked to you since Greg Byrne left the school. What did he mean to you while he was here, and what does his departure mean for you? And
Yeah, Greg, it's you don't want to ever use your AD in the middle of a recruiting process. That's not always pleasant. So, but it was a great opportunity for him. Greg and I, he called, was it last week or whenever it was, 10 days ago or something, to talk again. And he's done a fabulous job here. He's helped a lot of their programs, helped a lot of facilities, and we had some plans for some future stuff too. And he was obviously in the middle of that. But I think it's for Greg, it's he sees that opportunity, and he'll do a great job for Alabama. I know the school's been very aggressive in interviewing people. I've not been involved in the process as far as interviewing or talking to anybody, but I think they'll at least give me a heads up on some of the guys they want to talk to and see if I want to meet them or what have you. But we'll get a great AD. This is a great place. We'll get a great AD in here, and someone that'll work hard and try to expand on what Greg has helped build here in the last, whatever he's been here, 6 or 7 years.
You said the indoor practice facility, you remember last year, is a need, not a want.
Yeah, that's number one on our priority. I mean, I think the stadium certainly needs some renovations. I'm not in the bowels of the stadium. I'm not in the concessions or the restrooms or sitting in those metal bleachers. So I know all that it has to get upgraded and fixed and modernized. But as far as priority number one for me, selfishly, in our program is an indoor. I've been here long enough to know that it never rains, but for the heat and our workouts and all that, I think an indoor is a necessity, and we have room to do it. But you want to do it right, and you want to make sure you do it where not just the football student athletes, but other student athletes can use it. I think we can use it for pregame tailgating in football and basketball, and be a lot of purposes for it. But you want to do it right, and you want to build it right, and you got to have the money and the funds and all that. But there's no question it's a necessity for us going forward. Because it gets used. Our weather is a huge bonus, but the summer heat is sometimes used against us in recruiting, and I think unjustly so in some respects. But when it is 108, even if you work out at 7 or 8 in the morning, it's still hot if you want to come back and throw in the afternoon, or if you have a storm in August disrupting practice, what have you. But we do it indoor, and I think everybody I've talked to understands that and is on board with that. It's just a matter of getting it together sooner rather than later.
One of the guys who kind of emerged late in the process is Gary Brightwell, the running back from the East Coast. How did you discover him and reel him in?
We thought we needed another running back and a guy that could, what we were looking for, because we had a big guy, as mentioned, in Tilford, but we needed a guy we thought can play running back but also play in a slot. And then return kicks, kind of a dual role guy. And we liked him from before, and we kind of got on him again late. He's an East Coast guy, and we got him here to visit. I think he really enjoyed his visit, and I think he's a really good player. I think he could have a chance to have an impact early in a couple different spots for us. Very explosive, tough guy, and he enjoyed, like a lot of guys that come here for the first time, he really enjoyed his visit, and I think he felt comfortable. And we have the best running back coach in the country in Calvin McGee. So, and Calvin's track record of taking guys and having success with them is unparalleled, I think.
So how do you feel overall about this particular class as far as helping immediately and helping long-term and kind of getting things turned around after a season last year?
Yeah, no, and it's, you can't put your head in the sand about what happened, but at the same time, you can't dwell on it. We got to learn from what happened and why it happened, and then try to make sure it doesn't ever happen again. And the first easiest way to fix that is to get some players that can come in and provide immediate help and immediate depth and immediate competition. And I think this class, with what we have now, the names I mentioned today, the names you got today, and what we're going to add in the next few weeks will give us that. We'll be so much more athletic. We'll look like a different team. We'll play like a different team in a lot of cases, which we need to do. And then as coaches, I think, our guys are their current players too, which are the most important ones right now. Of course, I've really been pleased with what I've seen them just in the couple days I've been on campus, and I'll see them here in 28 minutes. So I've been pleased with what's going on. We'll be better, and we've got to get a bit better. But I think this athleticism in this class and the explosiveness in this class, I don't want to, the true judgment is in 2-3 years down the road, but I'm pretty happy that we're getting a lot of help right now.
I don't see an O-lineman on here. Is that something that concerns you at all, to not have any, look like there's an offensive lineman on the list?
Is there not? Is there any lineman on the list? Oh, there's some coming. Yeah. We've got some, and some that I mentioned, and some more. Yeah, we're going to make sure we'll have 5 O-linemen out there, maybe 6. You might use a tight end or 2 or 3. We'll make sure we have 11. We'll make sure we have 11 out there. 5 big guys. Coach Mahal, all the coaches, to their credit, all the coaches, we have a formula. They have so many guys on the team, so many guys on scholarship, each position, 15, 16 O-linemen, 7 or 8 running backs, and they all try to push for more. Coach Amy wants 26 defensive linemen. I mean, you can't have a quarter of the roster, but Coach Mahalchek's the same way. So they fight for their position, and but they do a good job of this was the best job, I think, from not just area coach, position coach, everybody truly working together to build a really nice class.
What position is the easiest to switch from when you recruit a guy? Taking from one to something, whatever you want him to play.
Oh, it's usually wide out DB. Most kids the real good ones play both ways in high school, or at least played a lot of both ways in high school. So, but we don't ever do the bait and switch, or as far as like sign them as a wide out and then move them the next day. Or anything like that. If we want them in a certain position, we tell them that in recruiting. Unlike when I was a walk-on 35 years ago, and they told me they'd walk on as a wide out, and they moved me the first hour I was on campus, and I was too scared to tell them any differently. And I don't think they really knew my last name anyway. So I was like, okay, whatever you want. But we usually tell the guys, this is where we think you could be best at. Where do you think at? And if there's kind of a difference of opinion, we let them go where they think they go, and then let them figure it out for themselves. But we're very upfront and honest with them with that. And same way with playing time, I tell them I don't ever guarantee you'll start as soon as you get there. That's not fair to them or the guys on the team. But we don't recruit guys to be backups either. I'm not recruit a guy and bring him in the program, and he can help you in 2-3 years down the road. If we sign them or bring them on the team, we think they can help us right away. That's kind of the approach we take with them.
We have time for one more question. Or not? Okay.
All right, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Thank you.